What up, fellas?
What up, what up?
Shit, another episode of On the Ride Up, episode 2, plus maybe 5. You know what I mean? We out here in Bowie with another special guest, the homie Darrell.
What up, what up?
What's going on with you, bro?
Hey, nah, man, had to join the podcast.
You know, that's what's up. Pleasure. You know, we always, chopping up about football, about sports in general in the group chat. So we had to get our mans in here as definitely one of the regulars. And we got T on the other side here.
What's good, y'all? What's good? What's good?
Yeah.
What's good?
So, man, let's just kick it off. It's week 1, or about to kick off week 1 of NFL football. He's rubbing his hands. He got the Birdman hand rub going on. And we had our
fantasy football
fantasy
season.
draft last
Football season.
Thursday.
Yeah.
And man, it was a cool draft because first time we was on IG Live.
Yeah.
We was gonna pod after that, but man, I was tired, bro.
Yeah.
It was a long one because
We were actually supposed to do the pod during.
not alcoholic.
Supposed to do the pod during, but you know.
Yeah, it was probably supposed to do the pod during, but it's a little hectic trying to get everybody there, sat down.
Mm-hmm.
People, want to just have their own little conversations, and it's, we're actually in the restaurant. Shout out to Champs in Arlington, and but we always have a good time.
We do.
And I like the idea of doing an end of year joint.
Yeah.
Because we only see the guys one time.
Yeah,
Everybody
a
go to their
lot
own
of
joints.
a lot of the the average fantasy leagues, they just meet up for the draft and then that's it. Then maybe you get you see somebody that you know once in a while, but you don't really like. We've been doing fantasy for a good while now. This particular league, since its first iteration, before I was the commissioner of it, we go back almost 8 years. Like maybe like the first or second
2011.
season of fantasy was actually going on, and we never. I mean, granted, we worked. A lot of us worked together, so we saw each other throughout, so we got to talk smack or whatever. But we didn't, celebrate each other afterwards. I think so. This year, we're finally going to start. We're going to have, a small portion of the fees is going to go towards a trophy for the winner, and then I'm actually going to look into buying like a small trophy for the previous years,
Okay.
and then every year from now on we're gonna do a trophy.
So I get
Get 2 what, Brian?
championship.
You haven't won 2 championships.
titles. Yes, I have.
You have not.
It's
won 2
on the
titles.
joint. You can look it up, bro.
We'll look at it.
Okay.
Brian has not won 2. He's lying.
And one regular season title.
He hasn't won 2.
Okay. Truth
What?
is in the numbers.
I mean, I had the best winning percentage. That's crazy. I had the best winning percentage, but yet I always end up having
You
a
Marty
running.
Schottenhammer.
I always have a running back or something that goes down right before the playoffs, right during the playoffs.
Okay,
It's
Marty.
something crazy. But also, we just gonna get together at the end of the season to, and then that'll set us up for the next season. People get to talking smack and because next year we're gonna graduate back to either 10 or 12 team
Definitely
league.
10. It's 18 league is just too small, I think. Just because we're just leaving a bunch of points on the waiver wire. It just makes it way too easy for
A lot of people got players.
a bum drafter to get right week 3 and try to take it over. So I just we need 10. 10 is like the minimum. 12 is your max.
So let me shoot you a question, bro. You do fantasy as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Are you in like a repeat league, or are you in like a new league every year?
Repeat league.
So do you guys do keepers in your league? Do you have a keeper, or is it no keeper league?
No, it's no keeper.
Okay. Is that just by choice, or you guys never thought about it already?
It was kind of never really thought about it. We thought about it this year, but we kind of already started the draft.
It was already too late.
Yeah, it's actually we had the draft at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
So next year we'll probably do a keeper.
Okay, so how do you guys go about ours is the basic,
Mhm.
put 8 numbers in a hat and let people pick them, and then that's that's how you're picking if you do snake after that. So like we said in the last podcast, we do a keeper league.
Mhm.
So 7. This is the most. This is the most we've had people do keepers. So we had 7 out of the 8 teams do keepers. So pretty much the one person who didn't get a keeper got to just basically pick his first one before the draft even started. So it was technically an all keeper league. The only one that I thought was odd,
Michael Thomas.
The Julio Jones keeper was odd for me. I'm interested to see how. I can't keep a wide receiver. That's just me. I won't keep a wide receiver because I feel like there's enough wide receivers that are number ones that can get you solid numbers, you know, and I feel like wide receivers rely on a quarterback to get them the ball. Don't get me wrong, Julio Jones clearly has a solid, you know, you know what I'm saying? If you have at least a solid quarterback, your numbers should be fine on a week in, week out basis. But it's more like with a wide receiver, you also need a quarterback that can get you the ball, and you sort of need another wide receiver on your team or tight end to keep you from getting double teamed.
Right.
Julio Jones is a big enough target where, you know what I'm saying, Matt can just throw him the ball sometime and he's going to go and get it.
The difference is last couple of years is Calvin Ridley's emergence with Julio Jones' numbers.
Well, and they're tight end, so
right. So I don't know
if he stays healthy.
I just don't. I don't do keeper like wide receivers as keepers is very unless they're like Superman out there. And Julio Jones that's a good name. I don't know if he deserves that keeper status. You know, I know you're a Falcons fan.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like he is a keeper status because kind of like what T said, he's going to give you solid numbers. Even though last year he didn't get that many touchdowns throughout the season, where I think he only had like 3 or 4 throughout the entire season, but he's still going to give you at least 10 to 15 solid numbers. You know what I'm saying? You can always rely on that.
That's true. I think.
And we do bonus in our particular league. Everybody's league is different.
With PPR league,
we get bonuses for like over 100 yards.
Over 100 yards, you get this bonus points.
So
stuff
yeah,
like that.
I mean Julio Jones is a safe pick to get over 100 yards at any given time. So you know, it's just about your personality, how you want to run your team.
Right.
Do you want to go run a heavy? I got 5 receivers on my team right now, and I got Melvin Gordon on the ice. And I wasn't planning on him starting at all. So
you drafted Melvin Gordon.
Yeah.
Joe was ballsy enough to make Zeke a keeper. I guess he figured, they would make it happen before the season started.
That's dicey still.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. If he didn't keep Zeke, Zeke would have he'd have got drafted in the second round.
Yeah.
Like he wouldn't have made it past the second round.
I think Melvin Gordon went the 3rd or 4th. I picked him early, but not that early.
Melvin Gordon went in the 7th round.
7th round. So
Well, the difference is because I think based on because everybody knows the media loves the Cowboys, so. Everybody talks Cowboys, regardless of what the previous year's outcome was, and whatever tumultuous situation they're in, they're always going to be talked about. So you've been hearing about the status of Ezekiel Elliott's contract negotiations or lack thereof the entire offseason versus Melvin Gordon and the Chargers. Because it's the Chargers, nobody's talking about them.
And LA.
So you don't know what's going on.
Right.
They may very well be in the same situation as Zeke and the Cowboys.
From what I understand, I don't want to talk about Holdouts too much because that's one of our topics. But like from what I understand, Melvin Gordon's been the negotiations have been cut off, so they're not going to negotiate until after the season.
Yeah, sure.
Who knows? This is all a bunch of. Negotiation through media.
2 days ago, Jerry Jones was taking shots at Zeke Elliott. All I'm saying is, you'll find if Zeke Elliott and Melvin Gordon can both sign contracts at the same time, and you find out about Zeke 5 hours earlier, just because that's how on the Cowboys the media just wants to be the first to break the Cowboy news.
There's definitely like a big caravan of media around the Cowboys. Cowboys one of the biggest. Teams in the NFL, the biggest, one or two biggest teams in the NFL.
Well, they're the most profitable.
Yeah, so, and besides the Patriots, most winning team at this juncture.
Yeah,
and the Redskins top 5 actually. So
let's peel this onion.
Yeah,
We talking about the keepers. We had Julio Jones and Michael Thomas were keepers. As well as wide receivers.
I still don't like Michael Thomas. See, like Michael Thomas is a top 5. No, I don't. It's not that I don't like Michael Thomas. Let me rephrase.
As far as fantasy.
Yeah. As far as fantasy, I like and a keeper. Like you keep in your foregoing the chance to get somebody else. Nick Chubb was still on the board.
I'm not taking it. I don't.
It's a little different because
I don't know how I feel about Nick Chubb. Like, what did he do last year that makes me what made me keep him?
But you gotta understand they had like 3 running backs.
Well, not keep, but draft.
He
lost out. Michael Thomas gives you lose out. You already lost out on the top 6 running backs. Then you're going to lose out basically on the top 10.
I agree. But he actually ends up lucking up because the person who kept Michael Thomas had the 7th slot. So that's by luck because your keeper goes in before you make the keeper. Then when the draft goes up, you find out. So basically, the value of your keeper bases on which, like for instance, Pat Mahomes was a keeper.
Absolutely.
The person who kept him ended up going number 1 overall. So based on slot of drafting, you reached for Pat Mahomes. Now, do I think he's going to be a top 3 quarterback in the league this year? Of course.
Absolutely.
But
quarterbacks will
not number 1. And it's especially based on how a lot of these fantasy league rankings doing it. It's like the quarterback is. If you look at fantasy points at the end of the season, quarterbacks generate the most points. So naturally, you think that the quarterback will be the first people you take, but they're actually so far slided down. There's like running backs and wide receivers, way before quarterbacks even say just to get drafted. So we had one go in the first round, and that's like, okay.
Running back?
No, Pat Mahomes went the number 1.
I mean,
we had 2 wide receivers, Julio Jones and Mike Thomas, which for me, granted, I like Michael Thomas paired with Drew Brees, but if you ask me to list my top 5 wide receivers, Mike Thomas is in the top 5 wide receiver. He's good, and he's top 10, and it's not much difference between 5 and 10,
right?
But it's enough to say I'm not going to keep him.
Okay, so who's the top 5 receivers then?
If
you would pick for
it's a good conversation.
Who's my top 5 wide receivers? Just me.
Right.
This is me based on fantasy football.
Right.
Tyreek Hill is my number 1.
Okay.
Fair. Julio Jones, Antonio Brown, Adam Thielen, and I don't know. It's a toss up between DeAndre Hopkins and Odell Beckham, but if I had to pick between the 2, I'd say Odell Beckham just because I think Mayfield is more of a passer than Watson, right?
Right.
But if you tell me, you take one of those, if you take those 2 out, either one of those, and put Mike Thomas there, I won't argue with you because he has Drew Brees.
Right.
But I don't like. You just never know the older the quarterback gets. You just never know, right? So that's where I am with that. But if I'm like, okay, who am I going to get? The fact that I know that a lot of people aren't going to keep a wide receiver, that means I can probably get the wide receiver that I want or the class of wide receiver I want in the 2nd round. Right. That's why majority of people keep running back. So you have Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Alvin Kamara, and David Johnson.
And it's different. Running backs are like the production drops off as you get to the backups.
Yeah.
Right.
Like with a wide receiver, you can always find that Cooper Kupp. You can always find that Julian Edelman. They'll get those nickel backs on them and they'll score. They'll get you 5-6 touchdowns during the year.
Right.
And nobody cares. It's not just the numbers. If you don't care about how it looks on the on the TV, like for my entertainment purposes, I love watching Julio Jones play.
Absolutely.
But I can take Julian Edelman and put him at my flex, and we can run with it. Like so, it's like watching football. I love watching football. I did protest and boycott last year, but we're not talking about that. I love watching football, but fantasy, like, you throw that out the window. Like,
Yeah.
watching football and knowing who scores and who doesn't. Like, we all know Le'Veon Bell is a better, one of the best running backs, but he might not get the ball in the end zone, like, because they're gonna have who is their backup?
Connor.
They're gonna have Connor in the red zone.
That's true.
So we'll see. Like, there's gonna be plenty of guys that's gonna steal touchdowns from other guys at the running back position. At wide receiver, like the tight end will steal touchdowns. Like Jordan Reed's gonna steal touchdowns from whoever's gonna be on the outside of the Redskins. So it's possible.
I mean, is he really stealing touchdowns?
Oh, well, no, because he's the driver. He's the driver.
Yeah, so
not necessarily Jordan Reed, but
I think I get what you're saying, but I think tight ends the tight end spot is the most suspect spot to draft somebody, because there's only you only have like 2 or 3 tight ends who you know is going to get their work. Travis Kelce,
right?
And previously you could say Greg Olsen. You could say, I mean, even like as good as Zach Ertz is, I can't just say Zach Ertz, because what happens is some of these teams draft tight ends very well, because they do more than one thing. They can block, run block, pass block, and they can catch.
Right.
So what ends up happening is you have the number 2 and number 3 tight end stealing touchdowns. They don't get any catches. They get in the red zone. They get a chip block. You know what I'm saying? And then boom,
or the
stealing a touchdown.
Backup left tackle. Eligible for receiver.
That's the worst nightmare in the fantasy league is for Teddy Bruschi to get on offense.
And then you lose by 4. I'm like, oh my God.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the joy of fantasy football. So,
where we want to go? What who do you think is gonna be the MVP for your team?
For my team, I'm hoping it's David Johnson, because he's my keeper.
Okay.
And I think with him playing with Murray and that new offense, hopefully they got that line worked on a little bit. I think because he's always been productive. Even last year when he was banged up, he was still producing for me, to the point where it's like I had him and Melvin Gordon last year. I can't keep Melvin Gordon. I mean, to the point where Melvin Gordon got drafted in the 7th round.
Right.
I'd be a moron to have kept him.
Right.
David Johnson wouldn't have lasted that long, so I got to keep him. I had no choice but to keep David Johnson if I want to try to set my team up for success.
Right.
But like we talked about in the last podcast, I like the pair. I like the pair. I like to have a quarterback that throws to a wide receiver. My main reason is I hate playing against somebody and they have the wide receiver or the quarterback, and it's like I was playing against Pat Mahomes last year and I had Kareem Hunt.
They even each other out.
I had Kareem Hunt, right? So imagine the person who had Tyreek Hill, like you going crazy, because it's like you want Pat Mahomes to throw everything he throws to your player, or else you don't get the points.
Right. But it's also helping them out too, though.
Exactly. So that's what, like for me, you know what? I think my MVP is going to be Devontae Adams. I think about my roster. I think about it's going to be Devontae Adams.
So?
Randall. Yes, I think.
Where you drafted him? How many?
I think Devontae Adams is the top 10 wide receiver.
Yeah,
I think he's a top 10 wide receiver.
As far as fantasy or just talent wise?
Talent wise.
Okay.
Fantasy, I think he's top 10 as well. Okay. So if I have him, I have a fresh offense. I have a healthy Aaron Rodgers, and I had Aaron Rodgers as my quarterback.
Right.
And I also have their number 2 wide receiver. So I don't have. So even when I'm playing, and if I don't even have the number 2 starting, I don't have to worry about him being on somebody else's team and eating up points while I'm playing against him.
That's a good strategy.
And then my backup is Ben Roethlisberger, and though I don't have Juju, I still have McDonald, who's his number 1 tight end, and he has a history of throwing to his tight end. So I said, let me go with that tight end.
And the thing about Devontae Adams, though, he's a sleeper, because a lot of times when people watch Green Bay, they don't really pay attention to him because he's not the flashiest person. This, that, and the third.
Because
so
they were expecting Randall Cobb to be the guy.
Who you targeting? in your draft?
The way I draft, I always try to get the quarterback first. That's the first thing I always try to get because they pass. It's a passing league, so they're going to pass the ball at least 25, 30 times a game at least. So I'm always going to try to get a quarterback first, and I try to get a receiver. Depending on which quarterback that I have, I try to match that receiver up with that quarterback. And then third round running back. Then I always try to get a defense around the 5th or 6th round.
So you go quarterback first.
Mm-hmm.
So here's why I would suggest against going for a quarterback first.
Mm-hmm.
And I think is it because you have a particular quarterback that you want?
Honestly, it depends on where I draft that
Name 5 running backs that you think would be good.
Ezekiel Elliott,
1.
Melvin Gordon. It's kind of a stretch. Devontae Freeman. It's kind of hard because he's been injured last year.
Okay, now
the previous year he was getting a lot of points.
You see how my whole thing is. You see how you couldn't just reel them off.
Yeah.
Name 5 quarterbacks.
Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. You can even throw Matt Ryan in there. Russell Wilson.
So if you can name 5 quarterbacks like that,
right,
that can produce.
You get what I'm saying? You can name 5 quarterbacks back to back to back to back. That's just going to produce, regardless of what the score is. Are they going to produce? So that means the crop is bigger for quarterback. So you don't have to necessarily if you draft a quarterback in the first round, you're over drafting. I guarantee you, by whatever format you guys are drafting on, whether it be ESPN or Yahoo, when you draft a quarterback first, I guarantee you, when they do your recap, they're going to tell you reached. Only because, not be saying that your quarterback isn't good, but because you didn't have to draft a quarterback in the first round. You can get through I think you can get to the 3rd or 4th round before somebody really takes a quarterback.
And that also depends on how many people is actually in your league. Because let's say you have 5 people. Of course, that's a stretch. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But let's say you have 15, because there are some leagues out here with that many people in it.
That is.
I'm not in that league. I'm not 15? In that league.
Oh, you got it. We do. It has to be even in our league.
So. Okay. Well, let's just say 14.
Okay.
Somewhere around here.
14 is still a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
It is. But that's why it all depends on.
I'm definitely drafting a running back first if it's a 14 person league.
At a 6 or 8 team league, you can pretty much pick the team that you want almost.
Right.
Give or take. You know what I mean? I don't think strategy. There's not as much strategy there to be had. I mean,
I don't know. The funny thing is, as a commissioner, I'm the person writing down names versus just drafting. I think it's a different perspective when you just hoping the person that you want is available next, and you just drafting that person and then thinking who I'm gonna draft. Whereas the commissioner, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at all these people who they're drafting. I'm seeing patterns where it's like I would see you and okay, he's just systematically just trying to put together a team, and the quarterback has to start the focus of the team. So you're going with quarterback first, and that's one way. Whereas most people nowadays, they've learned that they have no choice but to go running back, because if you don't go running back in a league where everybody's going running back, by the time you go for a running back, there won't be any running backs left. And what you find out is, if you don't have a running back that can produce, it's going to be really hard to win games. So if you only have 1 running back or 2 running backs, maybe one has a good game, one of them don't, then at some point they're going to have a bye. You need that 3rd running back that's going to be able to come in. So that's why in my league, we go running back heavy early. One person who's more of a maverick when it comes to drafting, Bernard, he drafted a lot. He drafted wide receivers early on, and then pretty much the entire second half of the draft, he said, just give me. He went home early and said, just give me whatever running back is left, give me that running back. And he did that based on once you get your roster, you get the slice and dicing at the end. It's you can drop some people, this, that, and third.
Well, there's enough people on that waiver wire that you can maneuver whatever rosters, however you want your roster, and bi-week manipulation that you want, and in our 8-person league.
So what's one of the strategy that you use when you're drafting?
I just try to look at if how many times is this guy going to get the ball in his hands?
Okay.
Um,
You mean for running back or just period?
running back, wide receiver. If a wide receiver is a return man, I try to think about that. Running back, if he's a return man. If I need a back end running back, need a back end wide receiver. If these both, then I look at that. If I have like I have Jared Goff, who does he throw to? He likes Cup. Is Cup injured? Like I'm trying to see who's injured, who's slow starters. I try to look at all that, like who like runs the ball early and then gravitates to passing the ball or vice versa, and things like that. Like Tom Brady's offense, they do a lot of short passes.
I don't draft anybody from the Patriots.
No.
The two. Matter of fact, there's.
I do have a number one rule. I try to stay away from my home team, which is the Washington Redskins.
There's a handful of teams that I don't draft from. I don't draft from the Redskins because it's a fan pick most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Unless somebody's like smoking like a Jordan Reed. If I need a tight end, I might draft Jordan Reed.
I picked up Jordan Reed. Like
I don't. The only person on the Patriots that I would draft is Tom Brady. Now Gronkowski was on that list, but he's retired.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't draft a wide receiver or a running back because of their system. You never know when that running back will hit or when that wide receiver will be the target. So I don't do them. I don't draft. I hate the Cowboys, so I don't draft anybody Cowboys because I'm not rooting for the Cowboys. If I have to draft somebody from the Cowboys, I promise you it's to trade them for somebody else. If I had to draft Zeke Elliott, I would have drafted him just to trade him for whoever I wanted.
Right.
I don't draft Eagles running backs. I don't draft Eagles tight ends. I don't have to draft Carson Wentz because there's so many other quarterbacks, so I don't touch the Eagles. And the Giants, the only person on the Giants worth touching is Saquon Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately for me, he was a keeper, so I don't even have the temptation of trying to get a Saquon Barkley, and then the rest of the team, you can keep it.
I'm pretty agnostic about teams I'm rooting other than the Cowboys. I don't draft from the Cowboys. I don't draft from the Redskins. Only reason I did draft the running back from the Patriots because Sony Michel was rated where he was, and I got him pretty. No, actually, I kind of drafted him kind of early, but he was like top. He's still the top 10. He was still top 10, top 12 rated running back at that spot. So it was just a run.
Who do you think is going to be a sleeper on your team, Brian?
Well, we're talking about him, Sony Michel.
So so you consider the 6th round a sleeper round? Like how deep?
After the 6th round, after 8 and back, maybe.
Oh, I mean 6th round,
6, 7.
You consider 6 a sleeper though?
Yeah,
okay.
Well, I mean, it depends. Like, you draft a sleeper, so it's kind of like I would go for a guy.
I mean, the 6th round is still in the first half of the draft.
Yeah, no, but I would go for a guy that people are down on.
Okay.
Up there because who cares where you draft him if he's giving you 20 points a game, 20 points a week.
So if I'm looking at your roster right now, Brian, I see that you drafted T.Y. Hilton at the 14th, and I understand that he's a productive wide receiver, but what type of passes he's getting with Luck gone? So that's a question. T.Y.'s been a producer.
Yeah.
So I think that could be a sleeper. O.J. Howard potentially could be a sleeper at the 15th spot.
I don't know. He was a top 3.
But you got, I think Goodwin might be your sleeper in the 11th round. You got Goodwin, that might be your sleeper.
The reason I picked, and I agree with you, take T.Y. in these leagues that are drafting after Andy Luck's retirement, we'll consider him a sleeper is because, like, I don't know if people are down or up on Jacoby Brissett. I am personally up on Jacoby Brissett, and I think he's going to be a good quarterback, and that's why I picked him at the end because I think he'll save me a game or two.
Okay, so if I'm looking at my roster, I know people are talking about D.D. Westbrook, but to get him in the 13th round, I think that might have been good for me. We'll see how that works out. But I also got Geronimo Allison. I think he'll be the 3rd wideout for the Packers. But if Aaron Rodgers moves the ball around, I might be able to slide him in on a bye week for somebody else. That might help. Looking at the way our draft fell, the fact that Jeremy pretty much fumbled his whole. I mean, he drafted a backup quarterback. He drafted a backup quarterback. So yeah, that's like drafting a punter to be the kicker, right?
Right.
And he drafted Drew Brees as backup of all quarterbacks. Drew Brees don't miss games.
That was a strange one.
Right?
Okay.
He said because he's going to be getting utilized more than just quarterback.
Oh yeah, he's like a slash.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's not enough.
Not enough to draft him.
He only comes in for like Wildcats. And
Yeah,
stuff like
not
that.
enough to
He didn't
draft
need that
him.
many points.
But he did take LaShawn McCoy, who was then on the Bills.
Yes.
So for
Yes,
him
I like that.
So for him to now be
Yes.
on the Chiefs,
With Andy Reid.
and he got him in the 15th round, that might end up being the steal of the entire draft.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if LaShawn if he's healthy, playing with Andy Reid,
Yep.
whoever got Damian Williams,
Mm-hmm.
they're going. And Damian Williams went in the 5th round.
They're gonna be mad.
Because LaShawn McCoy or Damian Williams? Close your eyes, pick one. You gonna say LaShawn McCoy, right?
Absolutely.
Especially with that offense. Just think about what Jamal Charles was, what Kareem Hunt was, what those shifty, quick backs who can make the read, make the cut, and hit the hole, and can catch the ball. LaShawn fits that. So I think that might be the steal right there.
I also like your pick when you drafted Devontae Adams too, because another thing a lot of people are sleeping on is the Packers have a new head coach, who's going to be the new offensive scheme.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be different. So it's going to be a lot with the Green Bay Packers. We don't really know what to expect. Take for granted it's Aaron Rodgers, probably one of the best quarterbacks in the league, if not the best. But you don't know if this system is going to really work or fail.
I think, and another thing is, will he be the return man? Because I think Geronimo might be the return man. Like Brian said, one of the things you look for is how many ways are you trying to get this guy the ball?
Right.
Like to have Ezekiel Elliott is going to run the ball, but okay, do I want somebody that's going to run the ball as much as Ezekiel Elliott and get banged up, maybe miss some games or something? You never know.
Right.
Or do you want somebody who's going to run 15 to 20 times, but also get 5 to 6 catches?
Right.
Speaking of Ezekiel Elliott, is his ghost gonna play? Let's talk about the holdouts.
They're
so
close
far.
to signing Zeke.
They say they're close to signing Zeke. We'll see what Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is a master.
I think the biggest thing is they're trying to they're working on where the money will hit versus can they front, how much can they front load? I think only the most you can front load on a contract is like 30%. So they're trying to work on how they're going to structure the contract.
But they still trying to get Dak in, and Dak's asking for $30 million.
I mean, they're signing.
He asked for 40.
Oh, for $40 million.
He turned down
30.
30
His Kirk is at 30, and he's trying to get the top.
And they've already re-signed. They've already restructured and re-signed 2 of their players for big money.
La'el Collins has been re-signed. That's to me, Ezekiel Elliott's the top holdout. We're not trying to make it a local podcast, but we're sitting here one of the biggest stories.
Hey, listen,
of the NFL.
I expect to see Big Man on the left side of that line on Sunday.
He's not coming. He said, "Well,
I think Trent will be there."
D. Hall said there's 0 chance he'll be here week 1. Now, I think what that means. And then he said sooner rather than later. So I think what that is, because if he would have showed up today, I would agree with you. But I don't think he's not going to show up today, so I don't think he's going to show up Friday. Now, no matter what, if he showed up Friday, I still put him on the field, definitely on Sunday at 1 o'clock.
Sorry, Donald.
Yeah.
Sorry, Donald.
Move inside if you want. If you want
Sorry.
you want to go to left guard, okay. But yeah, we got our man right here. But he's definitely what they're trying to do. What D. Hall was trying to explain his mentality was he's definitely not trying to forego his year eligibility. So that means he's going to be back by week 10. And then he said sooner rather than later. That to me means before week 5. So theoretically, he might be back next week. He might be back 3 or 4 weeks from now, but he'll be back.
So how do you feel about Trent's situation?
How do I feel about Trent's situation?
Whose side are you on?
Do I have a side? I don't know if I have. I'm all. as a kid, I used to be all team, but as I get older and understand money and employment, I'm like, these billionaires are like trying to, they go out their way to screw these players.
So do you think it's all about money with him? Because they're not. Do you think it really is about the money? And he's just pulling in one of those.
I think the cancer scared him to death. I think it was a little discrepancy between him and the team. That's about the urgency of this this benign tumor that he had. The team actually turned out to be right, but he probably should have gone to the doctor sooner. Do I think so? Do I think who's right? Like I think the team didn't do anything wrong.
I think
so.
I'm not
saying anybody's
for me,
right.
what I've looked at, what I've heard, I feel like if his money was straight, he wouldn't be complaining about.
Oh yeah, he got knocked back to the top. He got knocked back to his 5th or 6th tackle.
I think he was opportunistic in a sense. It's like when you have an argument with your friends or your girlfriend, and she really wants to argue with you about one thing, but she can't. And then she backdoor that argument with something else that she's right on, so she takes a win and tries to win every battle. And I think that's what it's like. You really don't really have a footing to win the money thing. You got 2 years left on the deal. When you got signed, you got signed at the highest.
He tried to play an ace. He had an ace. And not to say that he didn't have a problem with how his situation was handled. Was it big enough to say, I'm not playing for this team again, no matter what? No, I don't think so. We're not all inside Redskins Park. We're not in Ashburn, so we can't really say for sure.
But it's like, my thing is about, one thing I've learned about knowing guys who've played, all levels of football, whether it be Pee-wee, high school, college, pro. I've known guys from all those levels, and the one thing that I've heard, and even in flag football leagues, semi-pro leagues, it's about relationships. Mm-hmm. It's about, okay, who am I playing with? Who am I working with? Do I trust you? So for him to be there that long, mm-hmm. like if you really question their trust, mm-hmm. why have you been there so long?
Right.
So I'm sort of on the team in this sense. I feel like I'm not saying I don't want him to get his money. If it's just money, if it's just money, right. I understand. But here's the thing: I feel like
with 2 years left,
I feel like you're getting good money.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I think for a person, you're not an All-Pro right now. You didn't play the full season. You've had it suspension before, mm-hmm. And you're on the wrong side of 30. Mm-hmm. So I understand you trying your hand, but once you realize it, it doesn't work, just go back to work and then get your money the other way around.
Right.
Because if you come in and do your thing, that discussion can get open this next year.
Right. I think it will. He'll probably be top 3 by the end of this, top 3 paid tackle next year, and then just we'll just sweep everything and all this stuff.
But it's a weird trend that these guys are trying to force with this whole. I mean, usually you would do it with a year left. Now people are trying to do it with 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's interesting you bring it up. Just like people are saying, "Oh, you signed it. Yeah. You signed this contract. Fam, you can get cut tomorrow. Look, Sean McCoy got cut with $14 million coming up for him. Like he didn't know he was going to get picked up that soon. Nobody they could have let him go to week 4 so they could give him the minimum and say nothing. Like he'd be non-guaranteed. So like the teams have no remorse, no love for you for real. I mean, to a certain extent, as far as when it comes to money, get yours how you get it. And I do not care if they hold out, if you're 2 years out. If you overperform, get your paper, bro.
Do you think the situation could be a little different, though? Because, like, with Melvin Gordon, look at the position he plays, running back. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They only last for so long, the average running back anyway. And then, because he's still on his rookie contract, they can franchise tag him. That's another year.
But you can't franchise him while he's in the contract, though.
No, I'm saying, like, once his contract ends, they can franchise tag him. That's another year you can lose your bag.
So it's like listen. So my thing is it goes back to relationships, mm-hmm. and you gotta see what happens is you gotta you can't just say relationship. You got to call it what it is. It is a business
partnership.
relationship.
That's not a partnership.
You know, it's a business relationship.
Right.
So as long as the business is being taken care of, it's a good relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where it's like, I'm going to tell you up front, hey, listen, you drafted me, you gave me this. I'm going to do this for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to also let you know, when I get here,
year 3,
I'm knocking on your door expecting a new deal.
I mean, but
tear it up.
It kind of depends on the player too, though.
I mean,
it definitely depends on the player because let's say
Ezekiel Elliott got drafted early.
That's
you
true.
knew who he was going. We knew who he was going to be.
That's true. But let's say you was a Tom Brady and got drafted in what 6th, 7th round.
Right.
You didn't know you want to turn out to be this, and you did.
Right.
You know. So you're not going to present or come to the door and be like, look,
that's true.
If I perform like this, I need this bag.
Well,
Tom
like,
what?
Tom
You're
is
a 6th round pick. You can get up out of here.
Tom is a rare. He's like what he does.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't even be allowed with Tom Brady.
Oh yeah, they're getting,
I feel like
they're giving him money on the side. They got some weird partnership.
I don't even know if they don't have. I'm just.
They got Patriots have a partnership with his brand. And they kick back. They give him.
I'm basing it strictly.
That is crazy.
I'm just basing it strictly on his contract. His contract for his football.
Yeah.
Play.
No. Yeah. Okay.
I feel as though the NFLPA, just like there are minimums that you got to pay for veterans, this, that, and third. Mm-hmm. There should be a minimum for you can't just If you hit a certain mark, you can't play this because
I'm sure they hate that contract. I'm sure the NFLPA hates
because what happens is you make it harder for a player who doesn't have a $200 million wife.
Right.
You know, you make it harder for that person. Mm-hmm. Like, okay. Do I love the city that I'm playing for? Do I love my organization? Right. Absolutely. But guess what? The person who owns this is a billionaire. Mm-hmm. His great-great-grandkids are secure. I'm still working on my grandkids. Mm-hmm. I'm still working on my kids. Mm-hmm. We don't have an estate. You know, if most of those guys, they don't live the life of luxury after the league is done with them.
Right.
So they have to get all their money when they can. So I'm not saying you can't not take the highest amount of money, you know, but you can't be taking like that much, like the discounts that it feels like Tom Brady takes in order for them to keep that train rolling is so far beyond me.
Yeah.
You know, I get it.
I'm sure.
Hey, I want to give you a chance to put the best team around me.
Mm-hmm.
I get that, but it's still a business, you know, and I feel like there's a lack of integrity based on the contract that he's getting.
Right.
You know, like there's no way that Tom Brady can be that many times MVPs, that many times Super Bowl winning champions, and yet he's not in the top 5. I don't even think he's in the top 10 of quarterbacks paid.
His
AAV, I don't think so. I think he might be 8 or 9.
Yeah. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Well, maybe this is his logic. Because you know Tom Brady likes spending money on his line. Mm-hmm. Needs that protection. The more protection he has, the longer I can play. The more bag that I can get, because he already stated that he's going to try to play till he's 45.
45.
Which I don't believe that's going to happen.
I do.
I
don't think he'll be doing it for the Patriots, but I think he'll be doing it.
I got to see the 42.
Yeah.
42.
I think he might get 3 years.
He can do it.
Robert Kraft already said
he can do it.
He already nixed the trade. Belichick didn't want to trade Garoppolo. So, I mean, Kraft, I think is what the deal is. As long as Kraft owns the team, Brady has a job.
Of course.
So, yeah, I think he can get to 45, honestly. And it might not be with Belichick. It might be an either or situation at some point. But
I don't see how, if I'm Kraft, as much as I love Tom Brady, you have to know the roles that people play. And in the Tom Brady versus Belichick discussion, while I think that Belichick could not have done it without Tom Brady, I don't feel like he can't do it. Like, he can't continue to have that team as a contender without Tom Brady. Tom Brady, I don't think he can go to any organization next year and automatically make that team a contender. It would have to be a team that's like missing just the quarterback.
They are 1A and 1B of that.
System. So like you put Tom Brady on the Miami Dolphins, gave him the whole preseason, they'd still be a fringe playoff team.
Yeah.
Fringe.
97.
You know, that's being generous.
Right.
Because guess what? They still have to play the Patriots.
Right.
And if you had to pick one defensive mind to go against Tom Brady on the Miami Dolphins team, it would be Belichick. So that's 2 losses right there. You know, easy.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking while during the prime years, it was definitely a big amount of Brady, but I would hitch my wagon to Belichick because Belichick gave you structure. Belichick gives you coordinators. Belichick gives you a vision so that scouts know what to look for. I'm saying specifically, we need a guy. We need a running back that can catch and can run the 40 in a 4.4.
You know what's funny?
He don't need to have the block. He don't need to know how to go to the hole. He need to be able to run that fast because we got one play.
They specify.
If we got one play,
tiny
then we might run every 3 weeks.
Everybody. That's why Troy Brown did what he did, and they have niche roles. You know, they say, oh, I need this specific attribute for this role at this particular time because I'm gonna run this play against this team, and it works. But going back to his contract, what I think and dual points. I think he's trying to get to 45 because the CBA is coming up. One, I think two. All right, if you got like DeMaurice Smith somewhere in the corner, pause. Like he would say, with no cameras, no audio around, he would say, "I hate his contract. It's the worst contract in the league, bar none." And I think they're gonna try to swing for the fences this CBA. I think they're gonna try to get guaranteed contracts or partial guaranteed contracts, which it'd be a big win.
I don't see it happening. I think it'd be more guaranteed. But I mean, I feel as though what's going to hurt the NFL is jealousy. I feel like the NFL players are jealous of NBA players because it's easier to play basketball. Like, it's just so much easier.
When you're 6'8".
It doesn't matter. Seriously, it doesn't matter because if you're 5'11", you can play basketball. You know what I'm saying? There's so much money generated in basketball. Even if I don't play in the NBA, the NBA still like if I go to college and I play I'm gonna play against somebody who's
There's way more leagues that you can get paid in playing basketball than football. There's only really the NFL. The CFL does. You're gonna get paid what, $100,000 maybe? I don't even know.
And there's just so many more players in the NFL. So you can't guarantee contracts the way that NBA. If you sign unless you sign a 2-way or a non-guaranteed deal, if I sign a contract, a regular contract in NBA, you owe me everything I signed for. The one they don't do signing bonuses. So it's like you owe me my money. If I get hurt, if you trade me, maybe, but like I'm getting paid.
Right.
In the NFL, it's like, oh, you got hurt. I'm so very sorry for you.
Good luck.
Go.
I can put a call in for you. I know a guy who runs a car dealership. He can use you.
I think there is wiggle room. They want an 18-game season. There's ways
I hope not.
They're gonna have to eliminate two. They'll eliminate
I hope
games
not.
out of preseason.
I don't think. I think they should stick to 16.
We'll see. But that's what the NFL wants. I'm just saying, like, there's ways to negotiate. Yeah, exactly. But there's ways to negotiate. But the players don't get money in preseason either. So it behooves them to go and take 2 extra regular season games instead of the 2.
I personally think
4 preseason games.
I personally think they should leave it to 16 games and just chop one of the preseason games.
I also agree with
I
that.
think you need. I want to see 3 preseason games. I don't watch preseason football because I don't trust it. I'm not saying it's not how. I just don't.
Lying, your eyes start lying to you.
I don't trust preseason football. Like I haven't watched like a preseason football game in at least 10 years because what happens is you get some guys who feel like they gotta show out and put all their cards on the table, like Steve Spurrier, or then you have guys who really give you vanilla of vanilla, where it's like I'm gonna run the most base offense or base defense that you can possibly see because I know that my rivals are watching everything I do, and the last thing I want to do is tip my hand because the smart guys will watch you in the preseason for your sets just to play against you in week 9.
Mm-hmm. And then you also got a lot of players that say like the veterans, that's older up in age, they're not going to play as hard if they even play. Like especially a superstar, you really think Tom Brady's going to take a preseason game that seriously?
No. Because think of it, it's not even all about, like, not everybody suffers season-ending injuries in the preseason.
Right.
Sometimes you get a running back playing on a team with a sorry quarterback, like Rex Grossman, and then you chasing them down, and then you tackle him, and then what happens? Now you got a messed up shoulder for 4 weeks. So your starting stud running back has to start the season with a bump shoulder.
Yeah. And
Clinton Porter's still my guy, though, but...
And the Clinton's career right there.
Bump shoulders.
That was damn shame. I can't even call it. Like that was preseason your eyes start lying to you. You don't know who's what and when, what's where. It should be eliminated or 2-2 games. But all I say that to bring up is it's like there's ways the NFLPA are gonna fight to get at least partial guaranteed contracts in the game. And they're already, Kirk Cousins has already got a fully guaranteed contract. There's guys trying to, hit, for the home run with these, especially quarterbacks. And hopefully they pave the way for some other guys to get partially or fully guaranteed contracts, or at least injury guarantees. God, like, come on, guys. Like, it's sick. It gets sick out there, man. It's a big boy game, but, come on.
All right, so this week, since we're wrapping up, I want to go around. Real, you got any last words for the people?
Man, I'm just excited to see who's going to really win the divisions in the season because I feel like there's going to be a lot of sleepers, and I'm definitely ready to see the Cleveland Browns because that's one team I really want to see with all the talent that they have. Are they really going to put it together? Are the coaches going to, the coaches really going to use these players to their full potential? So I'm definitely ready. And of course, ready for my Falcons, to win the Super Bowl.
My last words is stop screaming peasant life. But we're gonna take that off. Take that off air. I'm excited too, man. Football with my fantasy team, with football in general, getting back to watching every Sunday and seeing what the Redskins do. That's my team, and it's gonna be interesting to see when Dwayne Haskins gets in. Well, and when Trent comes back.
Well, hopefully he doesn't.
I don't know about that.
Hopefully he doesn't.
Keenum about to.
Okay. So from I think I just want to thank Real for being finally
no doubt
being a part of the pod. We have our own separate pods that we're gonna be doing, but this is his first time on the Ride Up podcast. Wish you good luck in your draft. Just hopefully you reconsider drafting a quarterback in the first round. Go running back at me.
Okay, I'll take that advice.
I'm looking forward to a fun season. I really want to see what the Chiefs are going to look like without Kareem Hunt. I feel like at the end of the season they really felt him not being there,
right?
Because it was pretty hard. Like it was so hard for defenses to, chase after Mahomes, stick with Tyreek Hill, and have Kareem Hunt.
And he got big Travis Kelce too.
I'm looking forward to seeing what the Cardinals look like with Kingsbury and Murray. I'm interested in seeing what that's going to look like. I'm curious about the Browns. I think they might be in the wrong division for people to be so optimistic so early.
Still in the Browns.
I just granted they were right in the mix last year, but they didn't have a target on their back either. Now they will, and they got hard-nosed defenses in their division, and I think that might be troublesome. Who I'm really rooting for this year, if I'm rooting for one individual player, I'm rooting for Jacoby Brissett. I want to see, this young black quarterback have an opportunity to step in and fill the shoes for a guy like an Andy Luck, where Andy Luck already got, you know what I'm saying, outshined once in his career,
I
you
agree.
know, by Robert Griffin,
Mm-hmm.
rookie season. I think if he can get these guys in the hunt for the playoffs, he'll be well on his way.
Yep.
That's
They're
right.
gonna make him forget about Andy Luck real quick.
I don't know about forgetting because they still you got some people who gonna still wish he comes back.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's crazy how you get to keep that $24 million, but we're gonna say that for another day, another topic. No, it's crazy.
Because he white.
Like I said, we're gonna say that.
Because he white.
We're gonna say that for